a long way to come, but yeah, I guess it's about the networking, about getting to know people, and people like you that I've known online but never met physically before. So
well, it's great to meet you face to face for the first time. You've got a special role at this conference, haven't you, this year?
Yeah, I'm one of the online web participation coordinators, so doing some of the online moderating and stuff like that.
And how have you found that? Is it kind of going smoothly, or have there been technical hitches? Or?
It does seem to have gone pretty well, I thought. Using Adobe Connect for the keynotes and invited speakers, and our role is really just to sort of, I suppose, interface with the questions and what's going on in the background. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a good job, and there's a lot of people benefiting from the stuff that you and the rest of the team are doing in terms of amplifying the conference. Do you think amplifying conferences is an important thing?
Yeah, I think so, particularly to draw people in who can't physically be there, and get that whole wealth of conversation going beyond the face-to-face one. So from my previous experience of my first LC was last year, but I was actually in New Zealand, so all my contact was virtual. So I think this is a lot more this year. So I think it just draws a large group of people in.
No, you're actually based in Auckland, aren't you? Or just outside Auckland Unitec, is that right?
I was at Unitec. I just moved to AUT,
You've just moved to AUT, that's right. Yeah. So what's your role going to be there? What's your professional role?
I'm called an academic advisor, and my job is to work with the lecturers to upskill them. I guess I really see my role as trying to get them to rethink teaching and learning, and for some people it's the first time they've perhaps reflected on what they're really doing as far as teaching goes. So the goal is really the outcomes for students, to get students more engaged, to get students being able to use new technology, and in particular mobile technology has been my focus. Yeah.
What's the main kind of resistance to change amongst academics, do you think?
Probably a fear of I suppose looking silly by trying something they don't know how to handle. A resistance to change just in general. Some lecturers have been there 30 years and still doing the same thing they did every year for the last 30 years. So for them it's they don't want to have to do anything new. They're just quite comfortable, and the students really don't come into it too much. Yeah.
Well, it's a shame, really, isn't it? I suppose. But I suppose we're all in the same boat, really. A lot of universities are in a similar position where we have to try and convince people that there isn't a different way to do things.
Yeah, you've got to try and find the hook, try and find the key for each different person, what's important to them and what will get them on board. So, for some people it's playing with toys, so, if I can supply an iPhone or an iPad or, a smartphone, it might be enough to get them on board. Other people, it's what are the outcomes for my students? They're really interested in their students. For other people, it's more about their research output. So if I can work with them, get a collaborative research output based on their teaching practice, that's a way to get them on board. So finding those hooks.
Last time I saw you at Alt-C, you came in virtually. You were on the big screen, and you were talking about what you're very well known for, which is mobile learning, weren't you? Tell us. I mean, you're out live now to the whole of the world here. Tell the world, what is the most important overriding feature for mobile learning for you? What's the biggest message you want to get out today?
Yeah, for me, mobile learning is a catalyst. It's a catalyst for change, and so it's once again it's a hook. It's about how we can change teaching and learning. Yeah, and by putting mobile technology into the mix, it really disrupts the current environment. It actually empowers students. It takes the central authority away from a teacher, and it allows you to create these social learning environments. And for me, it's not about delivery of content to a small screen. It's about how can our students use these tools within authentic environments, in any context, and be able to bridge that into the face-to-face learning as well. Yeah. So all our students have a smartphone or a camera phone already. It's a tool they've already got. So we're not forcing them to buy something they don't actually want to have. They've all got them. Yeah. So what can we do with them? Yeah.
What about this issue of bringing user-owned devices into the classroom or into the formal education setting? What are the issues there, do you think?
Yeah, well, the biggest issue is support, and you've got a whole variety of different mobile devices, whole different platforms. Android, iOS, you've got Symbian, Windows Mobile, etc. So the biggest issue is being able to support that whole variety if you're going student-owned, while they could have any number of devices. So the way to minimise that is to have a common platform and look at tools that are common rather than the device, because the students know how to use their own phone. We don't need to teach them how to do that. So what we need to do is to bridge across all the platforms, and that's why I look at Web 2. It's easy to customise, easy to use, and you can interact with virtually any mobile device. So YouTube video, having a blog, putting photos on Picasso or Flickr. Any phone can do that. Twitter, even the most basic phone can do Twitter. So looking at the common platforms rather than at the devices themselves.
Do you think that these tools can be used to enhance augmented reality applications? Are you thinking of the idea, maybe for instance, of overlaying live action from the camera in the mobile phone, overlaying it with information? How's that going in New Zealand, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, you start limiting the devices that can do that to a smartphone, basically. So your standard camera phone generally can't do augmented reality because you've got to have a downloadable app to do it. But the level of people owning a smartphone is rapidly increasing. The interesting thing for me is about how we can get students using these tools. So we've got architecture students creating their own augmented reality layers of information for Wikitube, or for Layer, or for Genio, and these are downloadable augmented reality browsers that anyone can download.
I think
and
Layer
then they
is
can
free,
share that.
it?
Yeah, it's free, and then they can share that content with anyone around the world. So anyone around the world could download the layer that these students have created, and they've geotagged buildings around the city that they think architecturally suck. The failed architecture, or there's another group that did architecture they thought was really cool, so they called it architecture. Architecture means cool in New Zealand. So so for me, it's not about, okay, here's a tool and how can we deliver content to students again, using augmented reality. It's about, here's a cool tool, what can our students do with it? And get them to come up with the ideas, get them to generate, negotiated projects and reinvent the whole teaching learning experience.
So I suppose the bottom line is the students using the content or creating the content themselves. User-generated content,
And you get huge buy-in because that's their stuff. It's not someone else's. It's not what they're being forced to read. It's stuff they've created themselves, and they get really excited about that.
Do you think there's a paradox between using personal devices in a collaborative way?
No, because they're communication tools.
Right.
So it's a personal device that you customise and you have with you, but it's a communications tool.
Right.
So that's the key for me, is having an underlying, theory of teaching and learning, which for me is about social constructivism. So it's about that communication, about how do we collaborate, how do we interact, and it's a perfect tool to do it.
Well, that's great. We're going to have to stop there, I think. Thanks, Thom, for a really good insight into what you're doing with the world of mobile learning, especially down in New Zealand. I think we're meeting again next, probably in Melbourne, aren't we, when we both keynote the conference there? November in Melbourne. So
I hope your keynote's good.
Oh, well, I hope yours is as well. Nice to see you again, Thom. And thanks for watching. This is Alt-C Live Beta, coming to you live from Leeds, and I'm Steve Wheeler. Thank you for watching.